This is Actors Call Time. And now, here's your host, Carissa Mitchell.
Hi, everyone. This is Babu. Welcome to the 4th episode of Actors Call Time with Carissa Mitchell. That's me. I'm Carissa Mitchell. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. We're coming to you from the Box Studios in downtown Albuquerque tonight, and we're so excited for all the things that we're going to be talking about tonight. This show is for actors. People ask me what kind of show this is. It's for actors of all levels, whether you're just getting started to becoming a veteran actor who's looking to level up. We're all looking to level up. And so tonight we'll be looking at the chat, in the comments in the chat. So please tell us where you're from. Tell us if you've got any questions. We've got some great guests tonight that you might want to ask questions to. So we'll be doing that tonight, and we'll answer them. I just wanted to give you a little quick update on what's happening in my world. Lots of productions are starting up, and we're busier now than we were a month ago, and that's very exciting for us. Everything is still on self-tapes. We are in a self-tape and a virtual audition world right now, and it's probably going to be that way for a while. We'll talk to some people in casting later about that tonight. But I just want to encourage actors to find things on the internet that tell you how to do a great self-tape. There's lots of stuff on the SAG Foundation website. There's Actors Access and Breakdown has some instructional videos on how to do self-tapes. Get a good mic, get good lights, use your cell phone in the landscape sideways, do those kinds of things that it really doesn't cost very much to get a kit from Amazon that has lights and a little mic on it. And you can do it on your phone. Make sure you have a little tripod for your phone so somebody's not holding it all jittery and shaking around. There's Babu Cam. He's a good boy tonight. And then we're very much in the world of virtual auditions with EcoCast Live and Zoom and other virtual platforms. So before that, especially for you non-tech savvy people, make sure that you have a good Ethernet wired connection and that you have a laptop or a computer that has a camera on it. Phones don't work very well for those kinds of things. Tablets don't work very well because they're on the mobile network and they're usually on Wi-Fi. And so a hardwired Ethernet cable is usually the best way to do it. Let's go to the chat and see who's here tonight. Let's take a look. Elena's there, hugs and kisses. Dean Florence watching from Arizona, but will be in New Mexico shortly. Ryan Rux just saw Chris in News of the World earlier today. Such a good movie. We're going to be talking to Chris Bylsma in a little while. Such a good movie. Let's see. Oh, Malcolm is in Albuquerque. I think we're friends on Facebook, or I know you, but it's nice to see you watching tonight. Welcome. The intuitive actress, Sid and Megan are watching. Just walked in a dust storm. Oh my goodness, they're in Albuquerque. Let's see, Mariana Garcia, hello. Thank you so much for watching tonight. So throughout the show tonight, we will have the chat open for comments. So please, again, let's engage tonight. And if you've got questions for our guests or for me, we'll be taking a look at this periodically and we'll be talking to you. So watching from Kansas City. All right, that's great. Watching from the Bay Area. I love it. I love it. We've got people all over. Shannon and the kids are watching from Albuquerque. Oh, we're your biggest fans, Shannon and your family. We love you guys so much. Thank you for being on our show a few episodes ago. That was amazing. So tonight our special guests are both multiple hyphen people. I don't know how else to say it, but we've got Betsy Hume, who is an actor, and she is also a casting associate, and we're going to be talking to her about all things acting and casting. And then we've got Chris Bylsma, who's coming to us live tonight in the studio, and he's an actor, and he also edits reels and clips and is a filmmaker. So I love talking to people that have multi-hyphens like that, because one thing should teach you something about the other. So that's really fun. Really, really fun. So let's see, we got anything else on the chat? We got anybody else coming? Hi from Denver, Ina, hello. I can't wait to see all my Denver people. Oh my gosh, I miss you guys so much. Howard Guerrero shared the video. Thank you, thank you. So we're doing great. We've got lots of fun people to talk to, and Babu's gonna be eating his little treats tonight, and we'll be checking in with Babu every once in a while because, you know, he listens to everything I say, and he could probably do my job too. So anyway, there he is. Okay, so our first guest tonight is Betsy Hume, and she's joining us live from Los Angeles, where she's from right now. Hello, Betsy. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
So good to see you. So good to see you.
So good to see you too. I know, with the voice and the text is just not the same. It's really nice to see your face.
Each other in real life soon. So Betsy, you're originally from Albuquerque. You went to Sandia Prep, and so you're a homegrown Albuquerque girl.
I am, yes, born and raised. 505 for life. I will always be an Albuquerque girl. You know it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then when did you go out to Los Angeles?
So I came to LA for college, actually. I did my bachelor's here at Occidental in Los Angeles. And I think I mentioned to you, I've spoken at Oxy a couple of times in one of their audition classes, which has been really cool too, really fun for me to kind of just think back on, and I recommend this for everyone, to think back on how far you've come and everything that you have accomplished, because I think it's really easy in any profession, but especially in ours, to just really get bogged down with what you don't have or what you wish you had or the next plateau you wish you had reached. And it's really good for us as performers and as people to just look back on everything we've done. So yeah, I've spoken at Oxy a couple of times, and then I just stayed in LA after I graduated from college. I kind of fell in love with it. I saw it as a little bit of a challenge, and I still love it. I keep thinking I'll get sick of it, but I've been here for a while now. It feels like a home for sure, a second home.
Well, good. Well, you're always welcome to come back to Albuquerque and visit and hang out with us here. So I just wanted to talk about a few of Betsy's projects that she's been in. She's got a pretty extensive resume, acting and casting wise, but she was in The World According to Billy. She was in The Middle on ABC. She had a recurring role on Sheer Genius on Broadway. I gotta ask on Bravo. I gotta ask you about that.
And just by the way, my dog was in that show with me on
very nice. Well,
I can't wait for a Babu cam. Yes, there it is. I'd just be happy watching him all night. So cute.
He's such a good boy. But the thing on your resume that interests me the most is that you were Little Red Riding Hood in Hillside Theater's production of Little Red Frankenhood.
So that is an incredible theater group, which if you're ever in the LA area over the summertime, I highly recommend you go see Occidental Children's Theater. It's a program that I was involved in for 4 or 5 seasons as a performer. And then I also helped them start their kids camp, which is an acting and acrobatic camp, kind of acting, improv, comedy, storytelling, acrobatic, because Occidental Children's Theater, what makes it so unique is they don't use any sets or props or costumes. The actors are all improvisers, so the stories are built based on our improvising, and they are trained in acrobatic tumbling. So all of the set pieces we build with our bodies. It's really, really, really cool. All of the different, because we do children's stories from all around the world. So all of the different kind of characters, whether they're animals or, monsters or giants, are played by actors. Sometimes, like one of my favorite roles I played was, I did a 2 high. So I was standing on another person's shoulders for half of the story. It was really, really fun. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's such a unique, amazing experience that I highly recommend if you're in the LA area. So
that's
fun.
Amazing. Actually, you're joining us tonight from the Box Improv Theater in downtown Albuquerque, and the owners, Doug Montoya and Kristen Berg, also own our co-artistic directors for Cardboard Playhouse Children's Theater here. And so I found it because I signed Doug's son, and then he invited me to the shows, and I brought my daughters to the shows, and then my daughters thought his son was cute, but then one of them decided to do plays, and so she did many plays. I started helping, and then she grew out of it, and I'm still here and on the board and loving it. So I love everything that you said about the children's theater. That's amazing, and I want to talk to you a little bit about how doing theater work relates to your acting on camera and things like that. But I've got so many questions for you. Are you ready?
Oh my gosh. And I just want to say before we get into it that I told you this, and you know this about me. I could talk for hours about lots of stuff that might be really useful and some stuff that might not. So please, anyone who's watching, ask questions. I would really love to address whatever you specifically want to know. So
absolutely. So they're going to be watching the chat and putting some stuff up if we find some good questions to ask. But let me ask you this. When did you know that you wanted to be an actor?
Interesting. I used to think that I was kind of late to that, only because I didn't start acting until I was in high school. I knew almost right away once I started doing it that I loved it and I wanted to continue doing it. And so I knew that was what I was going to get my degree in when I came to school at Oxy. I decided to do liberal arts instead of a straight performance-based because I did a double major with English as well, but that's not what you asked me. I knew that I wanted to be an actor once I started doing theater, drama in high school. And I had dabbled a little bit in mid-school, but the way my school was structured, the high school had a really strong theater and drama program. And looking back, a really amazing theater itself. We were really, really lucky to have a kind of newly built facility. So I just I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the collaborative part of it. I fell in love with storytelling in general. That's another thing that was really reinforced for me at Occidental Children's Theater, is just the beauty of a story itself and the value that it has for us as people. I think a lot of times the way that movies and TV have developed in our society, we have this thing about celebrities and we lose sight of the fact that the reason we are so drawn to them and feel so connected to them is because of this really intrinsic, basic need in us as human beings to connect to each other and to learn from each other. And that's what storytelling was in the very beginning. And it is what it still is now, even underneath all of the, glitz and glamour and explosions and drama. It's all, we're teaching each other and we're learning from each other. And I think that we connect to that without realizing that's what we're connecting to. And that's kind of why it's so fun,
That's amazing. Amazing. I love it. I have some interesting questions for you. Based on your past, how did your parents feel? Like, did you have the talk with them where you were like, I want to go to college. I want to be an actor. This is the life that I want. How did that go? How did that go for you with your parents?
I did have that talk, and I just am so lucky to say that I have the most amazing, supportive parents. And they did say, I would like you to have something that you can fall back on if it stops making you happy, if you're not finding success with it in any form, right? Not necessarily financial or fame or notoriety success, but any kind of self-satisfaction and success. If you're not finding that, then I'd like you to have a pivot plan. But they were really amazing and supportive about me pursuing it. I think because they both, my dad was a writer. He was a journalist at the Albuquerque Journal for 30 years almost. My mom was a doctor, but also a musician. And my dad, an amazing musician. So I think they both had such an intrinsic value for the arts. Just growing up, the music is throughout both sides of my family, very, very highly important as any other form of education. And so I think that I saw it in their eyes a little bit, the like, oh God.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Parents don't want to see their child have a hard road ahead of them.
In any way, of course. Right. They just want it to be as easy as possible. And so to hear this profession is the choice is not the easiest choice at all. And I think they did say that to me too. They said, I'm sure that that this is not the easiest, but also there's no guaranteed success in anything you do, right? It's all about how hard you work and the attitude that you bring to it. And they did tell me that too, which is just that you will go as far as you want to go because you'll work hard at it and you have a good attitude and a good personality. And so I think I was just so lucky, like couldn't have gone better. I don't think. I was very fortunate.
That's wonderful. And I know you have a really close relationship with your mom and that's great. So let's go to some questions and see if we've got some questions, because I've got lots of questions, but other people too. What advice can you give a person who had an agent that is no longer in business and now does not have one? What kind of advice can you give that person?
Great question. The first thing I would say here is that while having an agent and having any kind of representation is very important, I'm not going to say it's not important. I will say that I think it's one of those plateaus that we give ourselves as actors that is the next level of success, and that you maybe think, when I get there, everything will be different and it'll be easier for me, and that's not necessarily true. What is true is that you'll have more opportunities. You'll have another person in your corner. You'll have another ear to give you advice when you need it, and you will have someone fighting for you. But it doesn't mean that you will have to work any less hard. And I would also say that I think especially for actors that are more on the beginning stages of their career, you can generate almost as much work for you as an agent would. Meaning, an agent has a bunch of different actors that they are working with and working for, and you only have yourself. So the agent might have a little more resources as to where they can submit you, but really at the beginning stages of your career, you have almost the same access as Carissa, because of Actors Access. And you can also submit through Backstage, and there are some other, Casting Frontier. There are quite a few sites now that you can submit yourself and find any kind of grad films, web series, any kind of smaller scale project that you can get yourself in on, get some good footage, and then ultimately find yourself a better rep. That's happened to me, by the way, that I was with a rep and they didn't even leave the business or anything. They were let go by the agency. And so all of their talent was then let go. And I was so upset because I was younger, it was early on. And I thought, oh man, like this was it. And they were getting me out, which was the really unfortunate part, because you will go through some agents that don't get you out. Not this agent, obviously. This one has been amazing. But I just want to make the point that an agent is another arrow in your quiver, right? A really good arrow, an awesome one, but not the end all be all of your success or your future. So what I would say is to submit yourself and to make your own stuff. Ooh, I meant to bring that up early. That was going to be my theme for tonight. Content creation is king right now. This is the golden age for content creators, a new kind of golden age. And I think that it already was kind of trending that way, but then the pandemic just pushed it right over the edge. And it's exciting.
We all watched everything over the last year. So they're probably, I feel like they're looking for new content. I thought the dog was going to jump right over. But I wanted to add to that too, that you can, when you're just starting out and looking for credits and things like that, working in a smaller local market is an easier way to sort of break in and get to know the casting directors and get some, get some roles on your resume. Since I have the agency in Albuquerque and I also have it in Los Angeles, I have a totally different level of standard for signing people in Los Angeles than I do in New Mexico. And so, it's a higher standard because it's an order of magnitude crazy of how many people are in the LA area trying to work. And some of my people that have come from New Mexico have better resumes than the people that live in LA. So anyway, that was eloquent and beautiful and I loved it. Do we have any other comments? What has been your favorite, most unexpected role?
Ooh, my favorite or most unexpected role. Well, I would say my favorite role is actually a film that just came out last year, which is called Love on Repeat. And the reason it was my favorite role is because it was kind of the situation you dream of as an actor, being on set, being in an ensemble film with an amazing group of people that was just so much fun every day. It was a rom-com, which of course helps. You just go to work and you're laughing all day. We really were cracking each other up. We had to, cut a couple of times. Not me, I'd like to say, but some people were making each other laugh because it was so much fun. And it was also in Oklahoma. So it was kind of like, we kept saying like we were at sleepaway camp, we were at summer camp. It was just such a fun bonding experience. So that would probably be my favorite role so far. Most unexpected role. Ooh, that's a good question. I will say the opposite of unexpected is I get a lot of nurses and which I would also say to pay attention to things you get called in for a lot. I know some actors are like, oh God, I have this type that, oh no, that's a gift. If you have a type,
yes, right.
Ooh, no, that is amazing. If you have a type that people see you as, eat that up. Because when I was younger, I didn't really have that. I had to kind of grow into my type, or maybe I just had to learn my type. I don't know. But when you start to figure out what type you are, that's solid gold, because then you can lean into that and you can showcase that for yourself even more. Because you have to imagine when I'm looking at submissions, I'm looking at a screen full of faces. Right. And if you can really hone your headshot to a type that you really fit, then it's going to just pop out at me. And I'm going to be like, oh yeah, she looks like a nurse, or she looks like, I mean, I know I'm wearing a V-neck scrub shirt right now. I didn't even mean to do that, but.
I want to segue into your casting career. Because you are a hardworking casting associate for Ricky Masler Casting, and she is such a hardworking. She's always got we always see breakdowns for her projects, a lot of TV movies and things like that. And she's so lovely to work with. I had the joy right over I think it was over New Year's that to book somebody that had to go out and shoot, and that was wonderful. But how did that happen? How did you get into casting?
So that was so organic. Well, I was about to say it was organic, but to be fair to myself, it actually was because I reached out to her. I met her in a casting director workshop, which I also highly recommend doing. That's something you can do with or without an agent. That's a way that, excuse me, you can get yourself seen. They are, of course, only educational, and you're there to learn from the casting director, but everyone has something that you can learn from. And if you have the opportunity to showcase your work for them, even better. You can Google, there are all kinds of different places that still do those. So that's how I met Ricky when we were doing them in person. By the way, I don't know that we will go back. I really don't. That's something else we'll go back to. I don't know if it'll ever go back all the way to the way it was before. But anyways, back to what I was saying. This is another thing I do is tangents, so bear with me. So I went to her workshop. I asked her in the workshop, which I always asked, if casting directors ever use actors as readers in their sessions. So, you know, when you do an in-person session, you come into the room, they're almost always filming, and you read your scene, you read the audition scene with sometimes another actor, sometimes the casting director. So I would just always ask if they used actors, and if they did, if they were looking for a new actor that they might want to use in a session. Ricky is an amazingly kind person, like Carissa said, so wonderful and generous, and just loves people and loves actors. And so she said, yes, of course. And then I emailed her and reached out and didn't hear back because she's a very, very busy lady. Didn't hear back for a couple of months, and then reached out another, and I kept reaching out. Reached out again, and it's just, this is how it works. I don't know if you remember, Carissa, this is how it worked with you and I too, but I just reached out again, and it was the right moment. And I said, hey, I just wanted to say, I know you're busy, but I really would love the opportunity to come and spend the day and see how your office works and help you out and read for you. And she wrote me back and said, oh my God, my reader just told me that she's sick. I'm stuck today, this afternoon. Can you come? I was like, yes, absolutely. So I was a reader for her. I'm a good reader. And so I started becoming a reader for her more often. And then she asked me at one point, they had a bunch of projects, her and her then associate. And she asked me if I could write up a breakdown for her, aforementioned English and comparative literary studies double major. I was like, yeah, I would love to. So I read the script, I wrote a breakdown. She was like, this is one of the best breakdowns I've ever read. And had me start doing more breakdowns, started paying me kind of for breakdowns. And then again, just the way things work out, her associate ended up leaving because she wanted to start directing. She's now a very successful director and DP. And Ricky was like, do you want to start doing this kind of more and see? I was like, yeah, sure. And that was 5-6 years ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Betsy, we're running out of time, and we're going to have to bring you back because look at all these questions I have.
I know, because I talk so much.
But I want to go back to the chat. And then I have one other question for you, but let's go to the chat and do one more question real quick. What is the one thing you know now about the business that you wish you had known when you started? That's a great question. Oh my gosh, that could take another hour.
It's a really good question. I will say this, and you might take it the wrong way, but I'm going to try and clarify it so you don't. I would say the one thing I wish I knew about the business, which I kind of thought I did, but I didn't, is that it's not about you. And I mean that in a good way and a bad way. The bad way, of course, is like, it's not going to come to you, right? The business is not out there waiting for you to dive in, which I think is something none of us really think we think, but in the back of our heads, we're kind of like, maybe I'm going to meet that person and they're going to be like, wait, are you an actor? Because you look just like the character that I have in my head that's a lead role in a new studio feature, right? We all have that dream kind of. I would say that's not true, that it's not about you in that way. But it's also not about you in that the things, the rejections that you get are absolutely not about you or your talent or even your look. That's one thing I'm so grateful I learned about in casting that I couldn't learn in any other class, is that are so many factors that go into the decision of who gets a role that have nothing to do with you. Not only are they out of your control, they're not even about you as a person. They're about every other person, every other cog that's in making this movie happen. So I would say it's not about you. It really isn't. And the role that's supposed to be you will be yours. So it just don't take anything too personally either way.
My goodness. We have so many things to talk about. So my most important question is, will you come back?
Yes, of course.
Another time, because you're so delightful to talk to, and I love you personally. And
I love you.
Could probably just talk for a whole hour about everything. But Betsy, I can't thank you enough for coming on, and we will get you back on, I promise.
Anytime.
And I can't wait till you come to Albuquerque and we're all vaccinated and can hug. I think, were you the one that said I need to give everyone all the hugs?
Yeah, I've been trying. I always ask, and if people are vaccinated, I ask, but I'm like, I've got a good year's worth of hugs to make up for. And I love hugs.
It's going to get weird. That's what I keep saying. It's going to get weird. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again soon, I promise. Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. This was so fun. Bye.
Thank you. Okay. So now it's time for our beloved segment, backed by popular demand, Christi's do's and don'ts.
Do change your default headshot when you upload new pictures. Don't leave that new credit off your resume. Put your best foot forward and give yourself the best chance at getting an audition.
Thank you, Christi. We're going to get you live in the studio at some point. That's a threat that I'm going to follow up on. So can't wait. Christi runs our LA office, and she is amazing. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her in person. My next guest is the enigmatic and very special Chris Bylsma. And you can find him in such projects as El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. Here he is right here. Godless, the miniseries, feature film News of the World with Tom Hanks, which just came out, and Vincent D'Onofrio's The Kid, just to name a few, and the upcoming Roswell, New Mexico. Let's take a look at his reel.
It wasn't even invented when Brigham Young was born. There we go.
Let me get that back. There it goes.
Black Diamond.
Bye-bye, cocaine. So, cocaine and Mormons.
Can't believe you just let him do.
Shut up means everybody.
Hey, don't shoot. Hey, get over here.
I ain't digging no Texas soil, sweating and bleeding for some rich Yankee type.
Just y'all watch yourself.
So just y'all say. What y'all even doing here, huh? You ain't dealing with the engines, fixing our roads, minding our river crossings. All they're doing is beating up on Southern folks.
All right, I hear you. I hear you. Northern Blues are not helping us a lot. We're all hurting. But I'm thinking we got a part to play in all of this as well. No, these are difficult times.
'Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch, but your life has lived in me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing. To love what death has touched.
Lies mostly.
Where are you two coming from?
Don't matter, do it, Charlie. They're here. We need sleep. Our head start will last at least an hour or two.
And we'll do what needs doing.
Kill them dead.
We'll go check on the horses. If I let you in, Kiki's gonna have me sleeping in the doghouse.
Man, are you serious?
You don't get it. I have literally slept in our dog's house. Our dog's house, John. You're just being selfish, you know?
Yeah, selfish.
Selfish.
Brad is an amazing stay-at-home dad. We chose what works for us, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm innocent. Hey, get away from me, man. Are you crazy?
A little bit. Listen, ma'am. We don't host tournaments for this game anymore.
You said you were interested.
I was being polite.
You can't stop him.
No, but I can't slow him down.
What happened to us?
not sure I've ever watched that to the end.
It's new, just for you.
That was new. Oh my God, that was hilarious. Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here in person. You go from Kansas to New Mexico to Los Angeles and back and forth, and I have to pretend you're in all of those places.
Yeah.
Everywhere I need you, I have to pretend. And I'd love to talk to you about all how you do that. First of all, I just love how you were clean shaven. You had a long beard. You had a short beard. You had big hair. You had no hair. You know, it's you're so changeable, and I love that about you. And one of the hard parts about that is always trying to figure out which headshot to use to submit him with how he looks at the moment. This is how he looks right now. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of fans out there today that are happy to see you. I want to ask just some basic questions. But at what point did you know that you wanted to be an actor?
That actually came to me later. I'd never done, plays in high school, anything like that. I just kind of stumbled into an interest in filmmaking, kind of prompted by the Fellowship of the Ring release, because I was a big fan of the books, thanks to my dad. And so to see like that movie and just realize this is what filmmaking is was pretty amazing. And then probably 7 or 8 years after that, I was really starting to get interested in acting, and I stumbled across an indie film casting call in Kansas City. And I was like, indie film, what is this?
What does that mean?
Yeah, I was just like, oh, acting seems interesting. I'm not in LA or New York, so never mind. And when I kind of stumbled onto that world, that's when I kind of got my entrance to it. And the first time I was on set, I just thought, wow. I had a job as an editor that I used to really enjoy, and now all of a sudden the job was just trash compared to acting. So I was like, I think I need to explore this a little more.
I think that's called getting the bug, I think is what that is.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, that happened to me too. The first time I was on a movie set, I felt like I was with my people finally. So late in life. But so you didn't really do it as a child. It wasn't something that you were really, it seemed like you were working towards in your personality or in your goals or anything.
No, I really just stumbled into it, which kind of tells you, I guess, maybe it is meant to be, because I was, painfully shy for quite a while and sort of like forced myself out of that late in high school. Just like, you know what, being shy is totally fine, and it's just who you are. And for some people, that's in their comfort zone. For me, I wanted to do other things. I wanted to be able to make myself do this or that. So I made myself do it. And still, I never would have thought that I would be like have a job in front of cameras and 50 people back there, like bearing your soul, basically. I would never have guessed. But.
That's amazing. So at some point, you decided to move to the big city of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And did you just sort of cold decide to move here because you heard that the film industry was here? Why did you move here?
Well, it's a long story that I'll try to truncate for us. But I met a friend of mine named Brian Reese in Kansas City, and he came from New Mexico, where he'd been like the military advisor on Terminator 4 with Christian Bale and McGee and those guys. And so he told us tales of like, filmmaking on a grander scale. I love indie film, and I'll always do indie film. But he just kind of opened our eyes to like, oh, you can order an omelet off a truck for breakfast and they'll make it for you? What? It was just this whole new world, and that started kind of the gears turning for me. And several years after that, I love Kansas City and had made a lot of friendships there, had relationships that meant a lot to me and learned so much from that industry. And yet I just kind of felt like it's time for a new challenge. And New Mexico, that just kind of came back to me, what Brian always said about New Mexico, and a few things lined up perfectly where a friend of mine from high school just told me, he's like, hey, I'm moving to New Mexico, by the way, let's get dinner. I was like, man, I was just thinking about going there to visit with an agency. And he said, well, if you move down there and need, a place to stay for a week or two or even a month, just let me know. And I was like, man, the stars are aligning. And I'm a little sometimes hesitant to make my move, but when I see that it's supposed to be done, I just do it, even if it takes a week or two. So
right.
Yeah, I moved out here then.
I love it. And all I know is that you contacted me and you dropped the Albuquerque Film Office liaison, Ann Lerner's name, mm-hmm. and I called you. But did you submit to all the different agents, or what did you do to get the good agent?
Right, exactly. Yeah, trial and error. It was painstaking, and I knew several people who were with you. You might have even been Applause at the time. I can't remember, or you were when they were first with you.
Right.
But Haley Derryberry, Paul Porter, you know.
Who just moved to Kansas again or something.
Really?
Or,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we worked on a feature in Kansas, and kind of New Mexico came up, and we chatted with them. I actually worked on that feature with Megan Hensley, by the way. But yeah, so I just kind of mentioned to Haley, I was like, I think I'm moving there. Would you write a letter of rec? And she did. I don't know if you even got that far or not, but I really just submitted to you. And then I found out some of my Kansas friends that were very supportive of the move. They're like, you know, just so you know, Ann Lerner, KU grad, so you have a connection. So I just hit up Ann. I was like, I'd love to get lunch and just talk about the industry. And as we were meeting, I was like, oh, I just sent my stuff off to M&A. She was like, I love Carissa. I'll just put in a good word for you. And I think you like emailed me back the same night or something.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when Ann Lerner calls you, you know, and emails you, listen to it. So she's been so vital in this, in the history of film in this state. I want to honor her for that. So from my perspective, it seemed like you just came here and hit the ground running. You just made your rounds through all of the local, all the TV shows that we're filming here. I think Night Shift was that the first one?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn, yes, where you were tied up in blood and all sorts of stuff.
That was the ex-murderer part of the reel, yeah.
So what was that like? I'm assuming that was your first like walk onto a bigger budget set. What did that feel like for you?
Man, yeah, Night Shift was the first to air, but From Dusk Till Dawn was the first to film. I joined the union for that and everything, and I'm very confident. I was very confident at that point in my career, even more so now, but still just knowing that I was coming on to something this scale. The shoots were super late, so I didn't get my call sheet until like 11 the night before, and it just all kind of added to some anxiety, and I was just like, I know I can do this, but still. But I showed up and they were having to do a Splinter Cell shoot to where the main unit was shooting something else. A smaller unit was shooting my bed, the flashback where you see the murder. And so it just so happened that the Splinter unit was very small. It was directed by one of the producers. And unlike a lot of these bigger shows and features where it's really mostly the director communicating with the star, understandably, I was the main actor there. You know, Sheila Eden also played my wife there. That's right. So, yeah, we both were there. But if I had a question, you know, the producer came up to me, talked with me about the scene. He was directing that moment. And to me, that was just the perfect kind of segue into this level of filmmaking. Because I was like, this is no different than indie film. You know, like the sets are bigger. There's more equipment, more crew maybe. But still, it's just a very down-to-earth intro for me, which is probably exactly what I needed.
That's great. And better food, right? Probably. But.
A little better food, you know, yeah.
So I'm just so proud of everything that you've accomplished in a relatively short amount of time.
Thanks to you.
Well, it's a team, Chris,
okay.
and lots of late night strategy phone calls about where you should be at one time or another. Give us a little bit of a walkthrough of your audition process. When your agent when I send you an email, what do you do first when you get an audition email? What do you go through to prepare for that?
Sure. First of all, I immediately check my calendar and respond within 5 minutes and say I'm in, or I can't do it. Sign somebody else.
Thank you.
Up.
I appreciate that.
Got to do it. And then, really, I just try to dig into the script. I read everything before my scene, if possible, because sometimes they just send you a small side, but sometimes there's a whole page of context before that's X'd out. But maybe it's the lead had an interaction and now they're coming into the scene with you. Well, that gives me a lot of context clues about the headspace that the other character is in. I don't know much about the script or even my character. That tells me an awful lot about at least that much, our relationship in that scene. I definitely read over and over again whatever description they gave us for the character. Sometimes it's, you know, he should be 20 to 50 and white. And I'm like, okay, well, perfect. I kind of check those boxes, I guess. It's not a lot to go on. Sometimes they're a lot more precise with their descriptions, and that's very helpful so I can at least kind of get in the writer and director's head before I start to create. And then, I just try to create a compelling character within the confines of the script, you know. There's no reason to add 3 paragraphs just to show that you can if they want to give you more lines, you know. Sometimes it's one word and you just have to make that interesting. But I found for me, a lot of actors, my friends, and even some actors that I'm not really familiar with, but, you know, we've gotten connected on Facebook, but they'll often ask advice, and one of it is, how do you memorize? And I have a lot of memory issues myself, so that's used to be very tough. But for me, it's just more about reading through the script and just learning, you know, your motivations in the scene. What am I here to get? You know, basic kind of acting method stuff. But once I'm in tune with the emotion of the scene and what my character is going for, the lines just kind of fall into place more or less. And I'm really glad that I found that to be the case these past few years, especially. Like memorizing has definitely gone a lot quicker than I ever would have expected.
Well, that's good. And as you progress in your career, hopefully you get larger sides, more lines to memorize in the audition process even, or several scenes to audition. Yeah. So I don't know how you guys do it. Seriously, I don't know how you do all that memorization.
You got me one that was like 8 pages a couple weeks ago, and
it was 2 days or something.
Yeah,
right?
But still, I was just like, you know what? Same process.
Right.
More pages, more dialogue, but exact same process. You just kind of stretch it out.
Right. So I asked this question to Vic Browder, one of our mutual friends, who you shared a movie right on this stage with Vic and with Matthew Van Wettering that we had on last time. And you and Matthew were in that clip together on the Breaking Bad movie, El Camino. What is the difference between the preparing for the audition and doing the audition process and then actually doing it on set? Like for you to prepare, is there a difference?
That's a really good question. In a way, it's very similar because in my opinion, you have to prepare as if the role is yours. And so you're doing a lot of the things that you would be doing on set, but there's definitely still just this extra little bit that I get at least when the role is mine. At that point, I'm like, okay, I'm stepping on set. If the director wants to have a discussion with me beforehand about the scene, great. But otherwise, I know what I want to present. They already cast me based off of what I wanted to present. So now if I want to take a little more creative license, I'm going to. And if they're going to rein me in, they can do that. But once I'm already on set, and once you have the role and you're stepping on there, some actors I know have kind of talked about, isn't it kind of intimidating, right? When they swing that big camera over into the close-up. That's my favorite part because I already know this is my character, this is my moment, and this is my chance to own all of this.
I love it. That is so cool. What is your dream role?
Man, I was kind of drawn into filmmaking and acting by some of the really interesting, like psychological roles, like maybe some of Ed Norton's work in Primal Fear, Fight Club, even The Score. There's just something very interesting about having to go so many layers deep, not only in like who I am and who this person is, but then also take on something else, like a different, like a schizophrenia or something like that, something I can't relate to at all. Well, that you know of. That just means all the more study, all the more like, all the more my creativity will just be ignited by being able to dig into something that challenging,
That's really cool. That's really cool. Let's go to some questions. We've got a lot of fans out there. Can I have all your autographs? Megan Hensley, we love you so much. We're going to have Megan and Jay on the show soon. They are incredible voiceover artists. We're going to be talking to them very soon. And mutual friends, I think you were the one that brought me Megan and Jay. So
yeah, it's I introduced, but you knew it was the right call. So.
Yes. Another Megan says, what was your favorite part about acting in Godless?
So the quick version of that was somewhat quick. I auditioned for a part, the part, and it had 3 to 5 lines, something like that. Mainly me walking up, saying who I was, them realizing this is the pastor we've been waiting for the whole season. But then they called me to set before we shot and said, well, Scott Frank wants to talk to you about your scene. I was like, well, he's not going to fire me because he wouldn't bother to bring me to set. So I was like, all right, I'm in then. And so I came to set and he handed me this poem, the 'Tis a Fearful Thing poem. And he said, I've been wanting to get this into the story. And this is the moment that I want to do it at the very end where there's a funeral scene for one of the main characters. I'm not going to spoil it, even though it's been years. But he said, I want you to go over this. I want you to prepare it. But we're not going to tell anybody else. It's just between you and me. So that was a lot of pressure, but I mean, I loved it, of course. And I love that style of filmmaking where, of course, we're all actors. We can pretend to be surprised or sad or whatever else. But when you throw something out there, whether it's improv or just the style of film, and the other person doesn't quite know what's coming and just naturally reacts, there's just something really beautiful about that and alluring to me. And so to walk on set and do my intro and know that everybody else thought we're going to cut, and then to go into this beautiful, amazing, emotional poem instead and see everybody react to that was amazing.
That is so cool. And then when we saw the trailer
Yeah.
for Godless, you were the first voice on the trailer, weren't you? Wasn't
For the teaser trailer, they
for the
just
teaser
used
trailer?
all
it was,
my voice.
It was just you and the voiceover.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I didn't know that story, so
Yeah.
it was like, that sounds like Chris. Yes, it is Chris.
And I developed a voice that was just slightly different from my own.
Yes.
So I was watching the teaser and I was like, what is this is me. This is my voice. And it was a crazy moment.
That is awesome. So great. Do we have any other questions? Julia, another favorite. What tips do you have for actors who've recently moved to a new location? How can they establish themselves with casting directors?
It's a great question. If you move to New Mexico or like a medium market, then there are fewer casting directors, of course, to get in touch with. And for me personally, I thought, yeah, I can come to New Mexico and I can just try to get cast, do the work, and let that speak for me. Or you can go ahead and invest in myself, see who is teaching workshops, take their workshops. It's not pay to play, but you have opportunities to perform sides and to show them what you can do, and just stand out as like, hey, I know that you're new in town, but I can see what you've done, and maybe I should bring you in. I think I'm allowed to say this. I took Joedna's class like December of 2015 and had my first audition with her in February for From Dusk Till Dawn and booked it. And that's not because I took the class, but it did help me to get in front of her and for her to see, this person I had no idea who they were. In larger markets, it's more difficult, but you at least have to make sure your headshots are up to date. You have your clips and reels and all of that.
I have all that stuff, which we haven't even gotten to that. But then you have recently, in the last couple of years, made the jump to Los Angeles. And it's very interesting. You've already gotten several auditions from the same casting directors. So even in the larger market, they've noticed you and are bringing you back for other roles to see. So you've made at least 2 jumps.
Yeah. Well, and it's just about preparation, like just prepare and make sure you make that impression, whether you book the role or not, doesn't really matter as long as you book the room, And I'm blessed to be a part of New Mexico Film, happy to be here, but it's also important to try to make inroads in LA, I think, and I appreciate you helping me do that.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I want to talk a little bit about your other sort of side job, which sort of harkens back to what you did before you were an actor. And you have Breakthrough Reels, and you pull clips, you create reels, you create content for people to put on their reels if they don't have anything. Want to talk about that a little bit. How does being an actor, how does that affect you creating reels and clips and those kinds of things?
I think it's very helpful because, I was an editor for 3 or 4 years before I resigned that job to move and just focus on acting and crew work. But then I did work crew in Kansas City. I did cast some projects. I directed some. And ever since I moved to New Mexico, I've been just focused on, I'm either acting on set or I'm just studying reels so I can specialize in that kind of editing. I'm not doing short films or anything like that. Just focusing on this. And I think there have been a lot of my actors who have given me feedback and just been like, this is different than what I'm used to, because a lot of people can make cuts on video, many very professional editors who are probably better than me technically. Maybe their 6-year-old niece can cut it on the iPad. Yeah, exactly. You can cut a video, but do you understand what it's like to be an actor? Do you understand the emotion that we're trying to show, the light that we're trying to show ourselves in? Do you know what it's like to be trying to present types? Do you have any clue what casting is looking for? Do you know the difference between reels and clips and when to use them? And most editors don't, simply because why would they? They're making a great rate cutting like commercials and films and all that. Why would they spend this time, researching what we need? But just very early on, I discovered the fact that I needed a reel way back 8 years ago or whatever in Kansas City and cut my own. And then the more I started seeing other reels, I just thought there are a lot of very technically proficient editors. I don't see a lot of people who are really caring about us as actors and what will actually get us in rooms. Because I don't care if it's $50 or $5,000. If it doesn't get you in the room, you wasted your money.
Yeah, that's great. The reels that you create are really great. From my perspective, when I see that you've done somebody's reel, it usually looks really good and really showcases that person. Even like there are times when we've got another. We have booked multiple roles directly due to Chris's incredible skills at making demo reels at Breakthrough Reels. Thank you, Chris. You didn't pay her for that, did you? But
you'll never know.
So great. Oh man, what was I going to say though? I forgot what I was going to say. Do we have any other questions? Let's see if I can remember. How could a Kansas City actor go about auditioning for films in Albuquerque? I really want to be in Westerns.
Cam and I, we've met through Zoom. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Mine are just that it's always been difficult to act in a market you don't live in. Because,
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the past, they needed you sometimes same day for auditions. Sometimes they need you to be a real resident who can prove you live there for tax rebate purposes, not just what's it called, a stretch local?
Modified local.
Modified local, yeah. Someone who says, you don't have to pay me to travel in. They really need you to be there. Now landscape has changed a little bit with video auditions. For me though, Cam, I was at the same place that you were back when I was deciding whether to move or not. My first thought was I can stay in Kansas City where I'm comfortable. I can just get reps in all these different markets and send video auditions and then come in for callbacks or when I book it. But the reality was almost every one of them said, we'd love to rep you, but not unless you move here. And so I just reached this point where I was like, okay, I love Kansas City. I'm comfortable there. And if you want to stay in whatever market you're in, you should do that. That's the right thing for you. For me, I knew that meant, okay, then it's time to make you move. And it's going to be difficult. It's going to be scary. It's going to be a risk. But am I all in or not?
Right.
You know?
And you are definitely somebody that's all in. You were lucky enough to book during the pandemic, and you had gone home to be with family, and you booked something in Albuquerque during the pandemic, and you ended up being here for a month to shoot.
Yeah.
It's coming out in another week. It's very exciting. But it was between COVID testing and ever-changing, pandemic quarantining rules and the schedule shoot changing because of positive COVID tests and all that kind of stuff. It just kept rolling and rolling and rolling out. And I know that was difficult, but you were like, I'm all in. So I'm just going to go with whatever they need, which I really appreciate. But that was a difficult thing to do during the pandemic.
Especially during the pandemic, yeah. Everything else is stressful already and all that. But that's a great point. That's another reason why it's hard right now. Hopefully with vaccines and everything else, we'll start to somewhat go back to a new normal at some point. But for now, yeah, you might say, oh yeah, I'm local, thinking I'll just travel in and stay there for my few days. Then it might get postponed. You may be there for 3 weeks and spend 10 times what you make on hotels.
Right. And luckily you could take your side job with you and work in a little hole during the pandemic and do that. Let's take one more question from the comments. Clint, do you make a list of your goals? Is that a loaded question from your friend Clint?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Clint, was that a loaded question? No. Clint's awesome. He's got a lot of really exciting stuff coming out. I actually don't make physical lists. I know that that's very helpful for some people and vision boards and everything else. And maybe I've been wrong all this whole time. For me, I certainly have it in my head. I know where I want to go. I know where I've been. I know what I need to accomplish to get where I need to go. But for me, goals almost turn into a negative thing where, of course, we're not all going to reach ours. And so it was almost a negative thing to see something on a board and be like, but I'm still not there yet. Whereas for me, it was just easier to keep in my head, okay, I know I need to push towards this. And maybe I'm not there yet, but I know that I'm making progress. But to not see a daily reminder of it every single day to be like, hey, you're not here yet, was actually kind of helpful for me. But that's just me.
That's cool. That's so cool. Well, I have the same question to end with that I ended with Betsy. Will you come back? Because we have not even scratched the surface of what's in the mind of Chris Bylsma. You can contact him on his website for reels and clips if we want to put that up, breakthroughreels.com, to look at his work and figure out whether you need a clip or a reel. Thank you so much for being with us, Chris. I really appreciate it. And we will have you back. We've got lots more to talk about. So.
Yeah, this is still awesome. Thank you.
I'm so happy that you're here. I love having people on that talk just as much as me. It makes my job so easy. I love it. My next show will be on Tuesday, April 20th, 420. So call it what you will. Before we go, let's check out the rest of the week's shows at Cardboard Playhouse and the Box ABQ. So like and subscribe. Find the Box ABQ on YouTube. All of our shows turn immediately into a YouTube video, so you can watch them at any time and go back and look at them. If you feel like you missed any important information, you can always contact me through my website, mitchelltalent.com. There's a place where you can contact us. Contact me on Facebook. We have one more comment / question.
One question. We'll pick it.
Okay, they're going to pick one question for us. Well, Chris is still here, so.
Well, let's skip this one direction.
We have a lot of Chris fans here.
Just for Carissa. Is there any just for Carissa?
I mean, there's one that's like, how did you guys get so awesome? But
oh, well, you know.
Right. Well,
thank you, Megan. Megan, you're the awesome one. You are the awesome one. Well, this has been a great show. I so appreciate all of you tuning in and joining us. I love doing this. I love actors. I love my job. And I want to thank the guys behind the cameras that are helping me from Cardboard Playhouse and The Box. And have a great night. And we'll see you next time.